Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today is another update for my Pan Those Eyeshadows series, one of my favorite projects that I have here on my channel, and I think you might like it too. So if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button, and now let's dive right into the update. Now let's start with this palette here from Essence. It's the Out in the Wild Don't Stop Believing palette. I just cannot remember this name. I don't know why. So this is a beautiful, cool toned, a bit greenish leaning palette, and this was the shade I was working on. I don't know the name of it. It's not on here. And it's a beautiful, very light golden greenish shade, and I have to say, I feel like I'm not the biggest fan of this palette anymore. I have used it more and more now over time, and I have to say that the shimmers are kind of crumbling apart when I use them. So this was very easy to hit pan in, and not in a good way, because I don't know, it's so sheer, not sheer, but well, it's so, I feel like almost dusty, and when I apply it, it kind of shears away very fast. So I reapply it and reapply it, so while I do my makeup. And so I use a lot at a time, and the pans are very shallow. And also it fades away during the day pretty fast. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to keep this one in my collection. I feel like for now I'm going to keep it, but maybe it's kind of on the chopping block. But I could hit pan in it, and now I do have 3 pans in here, which is quite exciting. Then next is this little e.l.f. palette here. This is called the Rosewater Quad, and it's one of their bite-sized eyeshadow palettes. And as you can see, I have been working on this very light, icy, rosy shade here. It's a beautiful eyeshadow. I love this one. It's so beautiful. I took this one on holiday with me, or on vacation, and it was so nice to have it. It's an easy everyday shade. I really enjoyed using it. It's beautiful. Love the formula in here. I also think that the mattes are very nice, and this one is also very beautiful. So I'm really happy with this little guy here. I really do like this palette. Then next we do have my Lost in Los Angeles palette from BH Cosmetics. And I have been working on the shade Rush Hour. And as you can see, I have hit pan in it. And then I don't know if you can see it, but I was also able to hit pan in the white matte shade here. It's called the Abbey. It came in pretty handy, especially for combining it with my Pandit palette, because I don't have a light enough shade in there to buff out deeper shades or to, clean up the transition area a bit. So I use it quite often, and it's a beautiful eyeshadow. It's not the best matte eyeshadow that I've ever tried, but it's good enough for me to use it. So it's good, and it was nice to use it, and I'm so excited to hit pan. This is such a beautiful shade. This is so pretty. This is one of my favorite everyday shades. It is a very light teal or almost minty shade, and then it has a pretty strong golden shift, and it's just beautiful for everyday. So I'm excited to have my first 2 pans here in this palette, and yes, I cannot wait to add some more pans in this palette. But I feel like the time of using this is, I wouldn't say over, but now as we transition into the fall time, I feel like I would prefer to work on some other palettes instead of this one here, because pastels are shades that I kind of gravitate more towards in the spring and summertime. So for me, it would be okay to take a little break from this palette now and work on some more fall eyeshadow palettes. Then the next palette is my Flamingo palette by Makeup Revolution, and I have been working on the shade Spendit. It's this beautiful bronze metallic here, and I don't know what it was with this palette, but I loved this eyeshadow. It was the first one that I hit pan in this month, and I just loved using it. I don't know what it is. I rarely ever use bronze, but I fell so hard in love with this shade. It's very foiled. It's a creamy, beautiful formula. I love topping ibis on top of it, or one of the sparkly glittery shades from the Natasha Denona Gold palette. So I just love this one. And yes, I went ham for it, and I hit pan after a week or so. It was so easy for me. It's a beautiful eyeshadow. I'm really impressed by this palette. Every time I use it, I discover it again, and I feel like the formula is so good. So I've tried a lot of Makeup Revolution palettes. I also tried a new one from this series, and it's not even close in the formula. So this one is really special, and the formula is just better than in all the other palettes I have ever tried from them. So I'm very happy with the progress in here, and I want to continue on using this palette. It's so beautiful. So I'm very, very happy with this one here. Then the last palette is my Desert Oasis by BH Cosmetics. I think it's in the project now for the third time in a row, which is, I don't know, kind of crazy that it gets picked so many times. But I'm not mad at it because I really love this palette. And I have been working on Heat Haze here, this beautiful burgundy shade, and it is beautiful. I love combining it with the bronze shade from the Makeup Revolution palette. It's a beautiful formula. I feel like these metallics here have so much texture to them, which is so rare in kind of, drugstore formulas. So I'm really impressed every time I use this palette because they have so much, they have so much depth to them, and then also sparkle running through, and just they're so textured and so beautiful. So the formula of these metallics is just amazing. I love this palette, and I wouldn't mind to have it in this project in the next round again, because I just love it and I love reaching for it. Now again, it is the time to pick some new eyeshadow palettes to work on. So I do have all my eyeshadow palettes in here that I want to work on. So if you have seen my latest video about my eyeshadow palette collection, you might see some palettes in this video that aren't in this little wheel here. That's because I don't want to work on all of my palettes. I have excluded the palettes that are too new in my collection that I just want to try out a bit more before I start working on them. And then also the palettes where the pens are magnetic and removable. Because I can use them as single eyeshadows, I feel like I don't really have to force myself to use them because I already have this double purpose for them. So I don't have to force myself. And then there are also some palettes in my collection where I know I reach for them constantly and I really don't have to have them in this project here. So just that not everything is in here, but everything I want to work on. So now let's randomly select 5 eyeshadow palettes. Okay, so the first one is my Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. Then the next one is my Juvia's Place DUPES palette. The next one is my Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera Palette. Oh, again the Sultry palette, so I have to re-roll. I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Carly Bible palette, that's the first one. And the last one is my Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. Okay, so I'm going to grab all these palettes and I bring them here, and then we will select the eyeshadows I'm going to work on. So I would say let's start with the DUPES palette by Juvia's Place. This is what mine looks at the moment, and I don't know if the video is up, but I kind of took something out from these 3 eyeshadows here and repressed them in some other pens. So they're a bit more shallow as they have been before, but this one here I've had the pen before, so I just, I really thinned it out a bit, and then these 2 I also had before, so everything is as before. There's just a bit less product in the pens now. So these 6 eyeshadows can be chosen, so I think I'm going to generate a number between 1 and 6. So here you can see I'm going to generate a number between 1 and 6. And it's the number 3, so it's this one here, a very very bright peachy shade. So it's this eyeshadow here. It's a pretty pastel corally shade. It's very bright and I have a slight dip going in this one. So I'm excited for this one, to be honest. I really haven't expected a shade like this, but now that I have it, I really do like it. And because it's so pastely, I feel like I can really make it work in a lot of ways. So this is the first one we are going to work on. And then that's so crazy, all of my Anastasia palettes are now in this project. So I have 4 Anastasia eyeshadow palettes in this project, and then my last eyeshadow palette is my Pandit palette for that year, the Norina palette. So it's crazy. I'm going to work on 5 Anastasia eyeshadow palettes, but I'm fine with it. I love them all. So this is what my beloved Carly Bible palette is looking like. I feel like this is my favorite palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, at least at the moment in my collection. I love the shade Libra. It's the perfect everyday shade for me. And I do also love this one here, Boli and Bear. They're both so beautiful. I love Jode. I love OA. Mandala, it's a bit of a weaker eyeshadow in here, but I still make it work. So it's also a beautiful one, and I love the mattes in here. Also these two, and this one is so beautiful. This one here is stunning too. And then this one here is just not my kind of gold, so it's just not my perfect shade, but it's also beautiful quality, as well as this one here. So overall, I really do love this palette. So let's generate an eyeshadow to work on. Now I'm going to generate a number between 1 and 14. And it's number 3. So it's the shade Mandala. So this is a very sheer and a bit more satiny shade. And it's a duochrome between a purple and a blue. It's a bit sheer looking, but you can see it has a beautiful shift, and it's a very nice everyday shade. And I feel like these two go so well together, so I'm excited to work on this one here. And I also have already a pretty good dip in this one, so I feel like it will be easy to hit pan in this one. Then next is my Riviera palette. So because I have already hit pan in 6 eyeshadows in here, I'm going to generate a number between 1 and 8. And then we will just count from here on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to generate a number between 1 and 8. And it's number 8. So it's the pink in here. Oh my god, it's a very cohesive color story so far. So this shade is called Monte Carlo. I have used it quite a bit and have a slight dip in it. So this is what Monte Carlo is looking like. These go so beautiful together, all 3 of them actually. This is such a springy color story, I have to say. I was hoping for a bit more fall eyeshadows, but I mean, they go so well together, so it's okay for me, and I love working on my Anastasia palettes. Then next is my Anastasia Sultry palette. As you can see, I have quite a few pans in here as well. So in this palette here, I have 7 pans already, so that there are only 7 eyeshadows left that I can work on. So I'm going to generate a number between 1 and 7, and it's 3. So it's 1, 2, 3. It's the shade Bloom. It's this darker coral here. I cannot believe it. I have a lot of similar shades now, so I feel like I will use them all together all the time, and they will blend into each other very nicely. As you can see, this one has a bit more orange to it. This is a really strong pink. This is more pastel. This is a bit deeper, so I feel like they will create a beautiful gradient whenever I use them. I feel like it will be hard to also use the shade Love from my Pandit palette, but maybe I can combine them all together and then top it off with this shade here from the Carly Bible palette. I feel like this will be a beautiful look. Okay, so now I'm going to work on Bloom, which is exciting because I have to say I haven't used it a ton in this palette because whenever I reach into this palette, I gravitate towards the neutrals and the cool tones. So I never open this palette to reach for a vibrant coral like this. So I feel like it's good to have this shade now in the project. Then the last palette is the Modern Renaissance palette. So I feel like in this palette here, I do already have 5 pans, so there are only 9 eyeshadows left to work on. And in Antique Bronze and Warm Taupe, I've almost hit pan already. So I would love to hit pan in those two as kind of bonus pans if I'm going to work on any of the other shades in here. So I'm going to generate a number between 1 and 9. And it's number 7. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's pretty exciting because I already started working on this shade, I think a year ago when it was in the project before. It's Venetian Red. It's a dark, dusty, I don't know, pinkish red. It has a weird color and I love it. I love the tone of it and I love the depth of it. It's so beautiful. Going to swatch it here. And I mean, what a color story. Yeah, it almost looks like a dupe for the Natasha Denona Coral palette, which is exciting, I have to say. I'm not mad at this, but I really don't know if I can hit pan in 4 pinky toned mattes in 1 month. So this will be quite a challenge for me. And let's see what I can do, how much progress I can have, but maybe it's the first time that I cannot hit pan in all 5 shades. Usually, you know, I just wear them until I've hit pan, so when I start the project, when I start a new round, I just start working on them each day until I have hit pan and then I stop using them. That's usually what I do. But pinks is really more of a challenge for me than other shades, so I'm not sure if I can reach for them every day. So we will see how it will be going. I do like the shades in general. I feel like all of them are pretty. I love the quality of all of them, so that's not so bad. And yes, overall I feel like they look beautiful together. So yeah, we will see what I can do with them. I'm sorry that I couldn't show you some looks this month, but I lost the footage on my memory card, so I just don't have it anymore. But I hope that I can show you some looks in the next month. And yes, let me know down below if you're doing this project and what your color story of the month is looking like. I love this project. It's so inspiring and it's so fun, and I just fall in love with my collection over and over again if I do this project. So it's a beautiful addition to my, in general, love of my makeup collection, and I would highly recommend it. If you haven't tried a project like this, go for it and just try it out one time and see if it's something for you. But I feel like it really helps enjoying your collection even more. So if you like projects like this, join in. And it was created by Alexi. I have her always linked in my description box if you want to check her out. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss any updates on this project. I do also have a Panda palette. I will be linking everything in my description box. And I will see you in my next update. Thank you all so much for watching. I wish you all a beautiful day.